Albert Einstein is credited with the following quote: "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." The American Heritage Dictionary defines insanity as a persistent mental disorder or derangement. The dictionary then attempts to give synonymous understanding of the word insanity. It states, insanity, something that is extremely foolish, delusions that progress to a form of madness. The National Science Foundation's Tree of Life project estimates that there could be anywhere from 5 million to 100 million species of life on planet Earth, but science has only identified about 2 million. What are the odds that anywhere from 2 to 100 million individual species of intricately complex systems of life would all be located on one planet, our planet, and only our planet, and that they all arrived here randomly, accidentally, naturalistically, without any intelligence behind them whatsoever, on just our planet? The odds are staggeringly impossible. The madness of the evolutionary proposal of random naturalistic occurrence of not only life, but all that exists, life and non-life, including our solar system and the universe itself, is very simply illustrated by Sir Isaac Newton's statement. This thing, this scale model of our solar system, is but a puny imitation of a much grander system whose laws you know, and I am not able to convince you that this mere toy is without a designer and maker. Yet you, as an atheist, or might I add evolutionist, profess to believe that the great original from which the design is taken has come into being without either designer or maker. Now tell me, by what sort of reasoning do you reach such an incongruous conclusion? And such can be said of all human-made models of complex things which perform precise functions and exhibit obvious purposes. What is a model but a scale representation of a greater reality? No one except an insane person would dare say that these models or devices just randomly constructed themselves, yet the evolutionist says that all the greater realities that these models and devices represent did just that. They constructed themselves, randomly, accidentally, bit by tiny bit over billions of years without purpose or design. Yet at the same time, our evolutionist gurus are declaring to us that this is the scientific truth of how we arrived here. We know that our relatively silly, simplistic models of these things had to have a designer, but the things themselves, infinitely more complex, quite naturally constructed themselves, the evolutionists would say. And if you believe otherwise, they would claim, why, you are just ignorant. Really? This sounds strangely like the very definition of insanity, to any sane person, that is. Consider now the watch example. The English theologian William Paley was the creator of the now famous watchmaker analogy. He said if we find a pocket watch in a field, back in 1802 he said this, we immediately infer that it was produced not by natural processes acting blindly, but by a designing human intellect. Likewise, he reasoned, the natural world contains abundant evidence of a natural creator. This analogy was an absolute scientific conundrum for the evolutionary community until their guru of genius, Richard Dawkins, published his work, which we will now prove meets the very definition of insanity. It is entitled The Blind Watchmaker. The premise of the blind watchmaker postulation is this: natural selection is the unconscious, automatic, blind, yet essentially non-random process which has no real purpose in mind, and natural selection is the process which all of life has slowly emerged by, increment by tiny increment. How important is this postulation to the theory of evolution? Listen to a comment on the book jacket of the blind watchmaker. Patiently and lucidly, Dr. Dawkins, in his book, which has been acclaimed as perhaps the most influential work on evolution written in this century, identifies those aspects of the theory which people find hard to believe and removes the barrier to credibility one by one. Notice the emphasis on lucidly, as if his sanity must first be declared and defended from the beginning. Notice also that his postulation has been declared the very cornerstone of evolution and his work the most influential. Remember these claims as we examine the insanity of it all. Listen with a sane mind to this statement found in Chapter 2 of Dawkins' book. Natural selection is the blind watchmaker. Blind because it does not see ahead. It does not plan consequences. It has no purpose in view. Yet the living results of natural selection overwhelmingly impress us with the appearance of design as if by a master watchmaker. They impress us with the illusion of design and planning. So, all the observable evidence we possess, which, by the way, is one of the essentials of real scientific theory formulation, declares overwhelmingly, Dawkins says, that living things have a designer. But Dawkins says we will now dismiss this overwhelming evidence and call it an illusion. This is the very definition of insanity. It is also the definition of witchcraft and the art of sleight of hand. Don't believe what you see or what you can study or reason and know. Rather, believe what I tell you to believe. Here's another quote from his book, Chapter 5. If you want to understand life, don't think about vibrant, throbbing gels and oozes. Think about information technology. What an odd, insane choice of words. For the American Heritage Dictionary defines information as follows. Number 1, knowledge derived from study, experience, or instruction. Number 2, knowledge of a specific event or situation, intelligence. So, using Dawkins' own words, he admits that the information technology of the blind watchmaker really is intelligence and knowledge. Intelligence is behind information. We all know this, and the dictionary defines it explicitly for us. But Dawkins would have you believe that the information we clearly observe in all life forms is an illusion. Again, the very definition of insanity. So here's the real question. Is the blind watchmaker thesis true? To put the question another way, does natural selection really have the fantastic creative power which evolutionists claim for it? If one will wade through all of the so-called scientific answers that the evolutionary giants of today's scientific community give, they will answer with something like this. Well, it is science because we define science in this manner, and you will have to accept this answer as fact. It is true because most of us scientists believe it is true, and it is the best we can do if you leave an intelligent designer completely out of the mix. Certainly the delusion of evolution and the blind watchmaker has now progressed to a form of madness, or as the dictionary would define it, insanity. So you might ask, what is the sane proposition of how life originated? Well, if you are sane, the answer is before your eyes. Even according to Dawkins, it is scientifically observable with Dawkins's word, overwhelming evidence. If you are insane, you will declare as Dawkins does, it is all an illusion.